I don't think it's any surprise to anybody that automatic gunfire has become a really troubling problem, particularly in the Twin Cities, around the country, frankly. And how people have such access to this automatic gunfire, mainly in the form of Glock switches, which are little pieces you can put in the back of really any Glock pistol and immediately just convert it to a machine gun. We came across a patent for the Glock switch called the Fire Selector System. The guy who invented this, his name is Jorge Leon. He's from Venezuela. Reached out to Jorge, said, would you mind doing an interview? Do you want to talk about your invention and what has become of it? And he said yes. Let's start right here. What inspired you to invent the Glock switch?
Yes, the Fire Selector System came to this world through my hands in April 1987. A year before, I had the opportunity to have in my hands a real sample of a Glock pistol. I had the opportunity to check the mechanism and to study how it works.
So you were impressed with the Glock?
I was very impressed with the Glock because that was a kind of new opening for the gun world and the gun market because of the simpleness. It was very simple. That time I came up with the idea and with the physical specimen, the physical switch was the first one, okay? And was perfectly working system.
What inspired you to invent it? Why did you seek to make a piece that would turn it into a full auto fire?
That gun was so stable in the firing, and I found that was an excellent opportunity to offer the military and the counterterrorism units and police department an option of fully auto and selective fire, because it was selective fire option. My first thought that came into my mind was exactly like this, this will be for the future, because you remember back in 1987 with almost no internet, nothing like a technology like we have today. So I say to me, I have to safekeep these for the future. And the future came until 1996 that I decided, with the help of a friend, to file a patent, okay, for my invention. That was the birth date that legally I can proceed to produce and to distribute in the world, in the police departments and militaries and all qualified customers that are the only one that can buy my products.
So after you get it patented, were you now selling your device to military and police?
After the patent, yes, after the patent.
Were sales good?
Very little, not as good, very little, because I was more concerned about the quality of the customers rather to have volume. I am not interested in volume sales. I was interested in quality of customers.
What is the idea of the device? How does it work? Very simply put, to somebody who doesn't really understand gun engineering, how does it work?
The idea is very simple, and that's the main of the main part of the problem. Actually, as soon as the few millimeters before closing the battery of the slide, it will detach or it will unhook the trigger bar with the already finger pressed and set to the fully auto mode, and then this gives an option of selective fire to the interested customer that will be interested in this as an option. And once they get the conversion, the Glock is not anymore a pistol. Legally, it says goodbye to their condition of being a pistol and becomes a machine gun. So in that way, it has to be registered as a machine gun in the BATF controls.
We talked about this on the phone a little bit about your feelings after you said the patent, getting it patented in the United States was the biggest mistake you had made. Why do you say that?
Yes, I mentioned that because I made a deep analysis on that. What is the office of that handles all the knowledge, all the patents of serious or sensitive technologies, and make it public? Everything, you can read it, everything. So there is no kind of control or something that have to be kept on some way secrecy, because the world today is so open to the information, and there are some sensitive technologies that has to be kept. By just seeing the drawings, they can reverse the technology and they can make it. So it's part of the problem right now. I never thought back in 1996, I took so much effort in describing and detailing, drawing in perspectives, in everything of the idea. And years after and years later, all that effort becomes a safe way for mobs or safe way for underground interests in converting illegally those hundreds of thousands of blocks that are in the streets.
Now that the internet is ubiquitous and everybody has access to the internet, you're saying that your design just in the patent office, which is an easy Google away, is now an easily replicable design that people can make in 3D printers and machine milling or whatever. You patenting it basically gave the world the design for the Glock switch.
Yes, I think that anyone can type it, and anyone can Google the information, and they can print it, and they can make it. So I find that it's part of the problem.
How do you feel about the proliferation of this device now? They're in every major city in the world.
I feel very bad. I am sad about that. I would like to do something in order to fix the problem. But I can see the fixing of the problem very difficult in the short term, talking in the short term. Probably we can talk in the medium term and long term, and that has to be done some corrections.
How do you fix this problem in your opinion?
In my opinion, to keep the pressure with the BATF against the manufacturers, illegal manufacturers, keep the pressure. Another factor, another very important part is I think, to knock the manufacturer of the Glocks and to check if they can change the Glock design in order to avoid using that any means of fully auto changing mechanism. And that is a duty of BATF, the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms. It's an entity that is responsible of the importation and selling and distribution of any kind of guns and weapons in the United States. So they have the duty or the obligation or they have to check on that.
Yeah. So are you saying that trying to catch every criminal with an illegal Glock switch is a constant cat and mouse game? But you're suggesting if Glock can change the mechanism ever so slightly of the mechanics of the gun, then every new Glock sold, Glock switches won't work. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, yes. And the gun will never be solved in 2 years or in 3 years. The problem will be solved in the next 40 years or 60 years in advance if we do something now.
Did you ever think when you invented this device that it would turn into what it is today?
I thought about that. That was a possibility. And the most important was of my thought was to keep unsafe hands, to keep the track manufacturing serial numbers, keep track who buys, who goes to end user certificate in the case for export, and keep control. But the problem was like a post-internet was too easy to be available for the public.
Yeah. Do you regret building it?
I would rather to invent any other thing, something less complicated for the future. And I am available to get in the quickest possible solution.
Yeah. Now, you met Gaston Glock in the 1980s. How did that go?
Oh yeah. I met him there in Venezuela back in 1987. Yeah, the same year that I came out with my invention.
So how'd you meet him and what happened?
So I met him because in the range I used to go, it came to his ears that someone was making selective fire device for the Glocks, and probably he got curiosity on that, and he called me through the former Glock representative that was in the time in Venezuela. He called me and set up an appointment. He wanted to talk to me, and in order to check to see what was in my hands. And he found himself with a 22 years old kid, and with a handgun, with a Glock in a box, with a selective fire device made and installed. And he personally checked that, he made sure that it worked, and he dry fired it. And then he looked at me in a serious way, like he told me, "Hey, Jorge, I suggest you to keep this as a curiosity and not work on this anymore." And I took like oh, yeah, it's important to get his advice. But the reality was, 2 months later, I came out with 6 different designs. And the last one, the 6th, was actually is available. It's a polymer one, very light and very reliable, with the serial numbers, with the controls, everything.
Why did he tell you to keep it to yourself?
Probably because he could see something in the future, because his Glock design, that he knew that his Glock design was vulnerable to be converted to fully auto back in that time, back in 1987. And we are actually in 2024, and the problem is spread all over the world. So my concern is, obviously, I am very concerned.
Yeah, do you feel responsible for that? Kind of like Oppenheimer with the nuclear weapon? Or do you not feel responsible for that because you made an invention where you couldn't have foreseen the internet and copying?
Yes, like I don't feel happy. I'm honestly to you, I don't feel happy. But it's something that occurred, something that I made, something that in those years I was so willing to do something good for the future. I was willing to cooperate with security worldwide to do something good for the well-being of everyone. That's my only goal at that moment and today, and will be the same goal forever in my way of living.
So when you see Glock printed on the sides of those little switches, it says Glock made in Austria. Those are not made by Glock, correct?
No. In Austria, they don't make anything rather than the guns, the pistols, And in the past, they used to make spades and tools that they use in the Mercedes-Benz cars, or I don't know. They used to make another things like knives or another military tooling.
Are there Glock switches in Venezuela where you live?
All South America, all North America, all Asia, everywhere you can find them.
Is Glock worried that your device would cost him sales in places like the United States where you can't have automatic weapons after 86?
I think Glock's concern on the U.S. market in that time was obviously important, but he had the world complete for doing business. He had all the militaries all over the world, and he knew that his design mechanism of the firing disposition, the firing system of the pistol was vulnerable. Like in 10 seconds, you can get converted. And that's something that raises the red flags in wrong hands. 10 seconds, you can have a fully automatic machine gun selective fire with a 3D printer and just buying a gun from a gun store, a pistol. So I understand that he was worried about, of course, that was a problem in that time. And later on, with the years, the Glock got so popular, and that was an important asset for the police department because of the price and the quality. The police department, they take care so much on the budgets and distributing the expenses, and I understand that too. And the Glock success was on that the major part because they found a way to sell a very, very low cost pistol.
How did the internet play a role in what's happened now?
Okay, first of all, the internet back in 1998, the spreading of the technology just began. For the patent developing the products was good because so many countries, around 50 countries, the militaries and police department and diplomatic securities, everything was interested in my products. Later on, with the incidents worldwide on the illegal switches, I started like closing the doors because I don't want to do anymore the offering and traveling and spending time with $20 illegal switches available from China or from whatever countries.
But in closing, what would you like to say? What else would you like to add?
Okay, I would like to get a quick solution for this problem worldwide. Okay, I think it's time to check what we have, to check all the streets, continue pushing with that with the illegal switches from the authorities worldwide. Even BATF is doing a great work, and I think every country have to do the same in the with authorities. And in the case of the Glock, have to check the mechanism that they are using the same mechanism for 30 something, 40, 50 years, so they can change that in order to avoid any means of converting with the easy, like a very easy, they change that. So I think they can do it because they have a lot of a good engineer, so they can make a change, a quick change, and then they can start with a new generation of pistol that does not allow fully auto firing.
Thank you, Jorge. We appreciate your time, man.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Take care.